And hello, and welcome to the Quantum Leadership Hacks, where we decode the mindset, strategies, and identity shifts that fuel real career breakthroughs. I'm Dr. Nebila Dhieb. Today's guest, very special. Sheena Yapchan is a Wall Street Journal bestseller author, corporate keynote speaker, and podcast host with over 1 million downloads. But more than that, she is a confidence architect who has helped leaders across, sit tight, NASA, Live Nation, and 800 plus podcast interviews transform fear into power. Let's bring her on stage. Sheena, welcome.
Hi, Nabila. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm so excited to be here to just chat about confidence, which is a topic that I'm very passionate about.
Absolutely. Oh my God, I'm so excited to get into the Tao of self confidence. So, before the Tao of self confidence, before stages and bestseller tips, tell me, how did your journey begin? What was the moment you realized building your own path and confidence wasn't just an option, it was your calling?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think everything really started when I moved to Toronto from the Philippines. My family decided to migrate here when I was 7. And of course, it was a big culture shock for me because Toronto is one of the most multicultural cities in the world. So I've never seen people from different walks of life, trying different foods, learning different cultures and traditions. And even though it was very multicultural, when you look at the media, it wasn't represented that way, right? So I never saw anybody in the media that looked like me. I always felt ashamed of who I was, felt ashamed of my own culture, wanted to look a certain way, wanted to have blonde hair and blue eyes to assimilate to Western culture. And even in my 20s, I dyed my hair blonde, and I decided to dye it back from my original hair color because, retouching your roots isn't cheap. But when I decided to do that, that made me realize who I was, embrace my own culture, and really be okay with who I was. And then about 10 years ago, I was dealing with a lot of confidence issues. And I was trying to find resources that also specifically catered to Asian women because, I mean, I'm Asian. And so I wanted to find something that I could relate to. But of course, there wasn't anything. So part of me felt like maybe I'm the only one dealing with these issues. And again, representation was really important. And so I decided to start my podcast, The Tao of Self Confidence, where I've interviewed over 800 women on this topic. Being able to learn women's journeys, their stories, it helped me also see confidence from different perspectives. It made me realize I wasn't the only one feeling what I was feeling. And as much as I love my podcast and what it's done, it was still a very small platform compared to other media platforms. And for me, visibility was so important because visibility shows others what's possible. And so that's when I tapped into books. My first book was a co authored book where we highlighted the stories of 18 Asian women sharing their journey of being an entrepreneur, being able to thrive. And it was called Asian Women Who Boss Up, which was part of a book series. And being able to share that book, share the message, the importance of representation, visibility, it led me to writing my first book with Wiley, which is The Tao of Self Confidence, a guide to moving beyond trauma and awakening the leader within. And I remember when I got approached by the publisher to write this book, a part of me felt really scared to actually do it. I was dealing with a lot of imposter syndrome, thinking, who am I to write this book? I don't even know what leadership is. I don't know what that looks like. Am I the poster child for that? A lot of self doubt, right? Because this is a big deal. And then I'm grateful that I had the support that I needed to tell me that I can do this. And it was important for me to do this because here I am talking about the importance of representation and creating opportunities and being able to say yes to opportunities that come your way, especially as women, we're afraid to say yes because we feel like we're not capable enough. And so here I am almost saying no to this because I was so scared when in reality I had to say yes and I'll figure it out as I go. So I said yes. I had 3 months to write, less than 3 months to write the first book. It came out in May of 2023 and it became a Wall Street Journal best-selling book. And then the publisher asked me if I wanted to write a second book with them, which is my current book, Bridging the Confidence Gap. And to be honest, I didn't think I had a second book in me. I was really happy that I had one book for a major publisher. So to have two is really a big bonus. And part of the reason why I wrote this book was because there was a report from the World Economic Forum that mentioned that we, um, we would have total gender parity at the earliest in the year 2154. 20, yeah.
Right. Okay.
2154. So a
Right.
long time, but that's when I wrote the book, which was last summer. Unfortunately, it's delayed 4 more years. So now they're saying 2158. So that's about 133 years for now. From now, if you think about it, it'll probably take at least 5 generations before we see that, which is
Right. Right.
wild,
Right.
right? Which is wild. And so this is why I wrote the book, because as women, we are so capable, but yet how we perceive ourselves really stops us from moving forward. And that's where the gap comes, because if you don't believe in your capabilities, if you don't believe in your potential, then you're not going to take action to make an impact out there. And it's important to bridge the two together so that we can make the changes that we need. Is it easy? Definitely not, right? Like taking
I
one
would
step
say
forward and
no.
5 steps back. That's change. Sometimes that's what change looks like, right? But the
Yeah.
more we keep putting ourselves out there, putting ourselves forward, being visible, being seen, being heard, that's how we can change how we are seen, how we are treated. Because of course, no matter what culture you're in, we all go through similar situations. Women are still second class to men, unfortunately. You know,
Exactly.
you look at the world on a bigger scale, like there's still so many things we have to fix, unfortunately, for women, right? There's still women out
Yes, Mr.
who,
Uh,
who don't even work.
go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry, I was gonna say there's still women out there who still work for free, right? Who work with no pay, which is unfortunate. There's countries like Afghanistan where women aren't allowed to go to school, go to jobs. In fact, I was reading a story from this one woman who lives in Afghanistan, and she's able to work a job, but she still has to keep that on the down low. Like she can't take she's not allowed to take public transportation. She has to take like a private car to go and work her job because it's
Wow.
illegal. Isn't that
Yeah.
insane? Isn't that insane in 2025 that we're still dealing
Yeah.
with this? Sorry, I kind of went off
Real.
on a tangent.
Yeah. No. 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 This is very interesting. Real stories. This is really what like brings us together. Is that sometimes we are so into, but we are so similar in like in the challenges we face and so on. Mr. Muhammad Hasibullah Hassan. Hello. He's saying hello. So hello. Hello. And meanwhile, hey Muhammad. Good to see you here. Sheena, you've I'm going to slow down a little bit and
Yeah.
take a look at those pieces like bite by bite. So you've spoken, for example, at NASA on stages. You work with corporate leaders, and I would want to nail this down. What does real career confidence look like in action? Like not just all that noise we hear about in motivational speeches and so on is about this and that, but in real action, what does it look like?
I mean, in my book, I talk about the strategy called Ready, Fire, Aim, right? And as leaders, sometimes we start before we're ready, right? We just go out there and we take action and we course correct as we go because that's how real results happen, right? You don't wait for that perfect moment. You don't wait till everything is 110% perfect that you take action. You take action as you go, right? If you look at the things that were created in this day, it didn't start with finding the right moment, making sure you knew everything before you started. It was more like, I have an idea, let's test it out, see what went right and wrong, and then we keep moving forward. So
Right.
I think it's
I
really
love that concept, jump before you're ready, because you're never ready. I mean, if you
never.
follow, the voice that's telling you, wait until we are ready, you're not ready, then you'll never be ready. That's one of the things, I learned first thing from my mentor, Bob Proctor. Jump before you're ready. You have 60% of what it takes, jump. You will develop the wings, you'll develop the resources and whatever you need later on the way. And this is one of the things also we notice with women in the GCC, the difference in gender,
Yeah.
between women and men. Like women would look at a job description and they would go checking every single, detail, every single bullet point, to make sure that they are more than 100% ready for it, that they have the skills, that they have this. And then on the other hand, you see men and they've got no disrespect, of 50 or 55%. Off they go and they apply. And then women get disheartened because they find themselves sitting in a job where they have the 110%, and the next person who has negotiated well the salary, that's another thing, he's receiving 40% more just because they didn't negotiate, and at the same time they're doing more work. So these disparities, they are a reality because jobs salaries are negotiated, especially as you go up the ladder, and jobs are also negotiated. So my question for you, Sheena, um, first of all, what do you think about these disparities? I think you just spoke about the lady in Afghanistan, and that's in and by itself an example of disparity. And what's the personal formula for like a jumping before you're ready, developing the leadership, and not wait until you have it 100%, but developing it on the way?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why for me it's so important to put myself out there, because sometimes we feel like we're the only ones who is feeling this way, who feels like they're not ready, who feels like they're not perfect, because I'm far from perfect, that's for sure. But I'm willing to take that step to show others like it's possible, right? Like you don't have to know everything. You don't have to figure everything out. You don't have to be 110% to be ready. You can be at 51% and just go for it. Like you said, men just go for it. And I get it, right? Men have been programmed to be confident, right? They've been programmed to practice confidence while women haven't been able to practice that. You know, they mentioned that little girls as young as 6 already have confidence issues, which is unfortunate, right? Because it starts from a young age. Also, the traumas that we go through, if we don't work through them to heal, so we can move forward, that also holds us back. So it's really important for me to show up to show others what's possible. This is why representation is important. You just need to see one person that you can relate to and realize, oh, if she can do it, I can do it. She didn't know anything, but she was willing to make something happen. And that's all I need to know, right? Having support is important. Having shows like this is important. Especially as women, we've been taught to be like the superwomen of everything. And that gets exhausting. Like, we don't need to do every single thing, right? Because as women, we're not only working jobs or having businesses, we're taking care of family members, kids, doing chores, running errands, and that takes a whole toll. I see all these so called male gurus who tell you that you need to work 12 hours on your business to be successful. And it's like, well, as a woman, women wish they had 12 hours in a day. Heck, they'd be happy if they had 3 hours in a day. But unfortunately, that's not the case because we're doing other things. And so that was for a male guru or whatever expert to say that is really unfair, because he probably has a wife that is running the household so that he doesn't have to worry about meal plans, making sure the kids are fed, taking a bath, bedtime stories, put them to bed, wake them up, make breakfast. They don't have to worry about those little things, but women do, especially when you have kids, right? You're like worrying about every aspect of your children's lives and your partner's lives, and so we'd be lucky if we had 3 hours to ourselves. So
Yeah, keeping the whole thing together. And then, I
yeah,
mean, they sometimes do it, then they help, but that's help. That's when they can do it and want to do it. But
yeah,
for us, it's
we're
like,
stuck with it.
yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's important to state that because it's really disheartening when I see, like men say things like that and they don't even go through a tenth of what women go through, right? And so this
If
is
they
why,
just had a baby, they would change their mind.
yeah, yeah. If they imagine if they had to carry a baby for 9 months, push that out, try to get back to your original weight, go through postpartum depression, like there's so many things, right? That men are unaware of, unfortunately. And it's important to bring these topics so they can see, like, okay, you know, you know, your significant other does a lot, and sometimes it takes a team, right? You need a team to work together so that you can move forward, right? And
Right,
so
motherhood in and by itself is a full-time job.
it's the most
You
underrated
know,
job, right?
yeah, I mean, and taking care of the home, that's a full-time job. Whatever other job you are doing outside, that's a full-time job. And then sometimes, some wise people who can see the different things we are doing, and they say, "How are you able to do all of this?" I had someone like this, and and he said, I always hire women because if they can do all of these single-handedly on their own, oh wow, I mean, I can trust them with anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing,
So
amazing. Mhm.
yeah.
So, Sheena, in can't remember, is it the first book or second book? But you talk about the action formula, ACTian formula, like the awareness, acclaim, and trust. So, where first of all, to be confident in what you are doing, first you need the awareness
Yeah,
of your conditioning, your strengths, your defenses, your paradigms, your limiting beliefs, your background, your upbringing, everything. And
yeah,
claim, it's you talk about taking small, consistent actions that feel aligned. And T trust. Can you talk a little bit to that triangle?
yeah. So I'm not. That's actually I don't have it in that strat like the ACT, but it does, like, the first book talks about that, the importance of working through your traumas, and the first step is being aware, because not a lot of us are aware that there's trauma that is stopping us from moving forward. In fact, we're not even aware that we're carrying the traumas of our parents or grandparents that also stops us. So the first book is about setting that foundation, working through your mindset so that you have the proper mindset to be confident, to be the leader. I also say, taking small actionable daily steps is what yields the big results, right? Because a lot of us think we need to take a big leap in order to build confidence, but no, you just need to take it one step at a time, right? I tell people Rome wasn't built in a day, so you can't expect yourself to build you up in one day. It takes a habit, right? It takes a routine for you to create that and have the tools and resources. So and then once you're able to work through that, you can go out there and start taking those actions. Will they be the right actions? Maybe not. But I always say the actions that you take will always lead you to where you're supposed to be. So everything that, when you look back, everything happened the way it happened, and it will make sense later on. So I hope that kind of helps out. Having that foundation is really important. Working through your mindset is really important. Working through the things that's really stopping you from moving forward is really important. And that's why I wrote the first book. Especially in our culture, trauma is not something we talk about. It's something that we are told to keep to ourselves, and we have all these repressed feelings, and that's how we start having, mental health issues, going through imposter syndrome, going through doubt, because how we're brought up, right? Being an Asian culture, women are brought up a certain way, right, versus the men. And so it's important to unlearn those things, learn to break free, and learn to realize there's more than one way to live life.
Absolutely, totally agree. But sometimes, I'm putting myself in the shoes of all the amazing ladies who might be watching us right now, and they say, "Well, yeah, okay, I'm working on my mindset, and but basically, it would mean I'm logically thinking about." The traumas I had, or probably digging a little bit into my limiting beliefs and so on and so forth. But can you expand a little bit more on, if you of course mentioned that in the first book, and I do believe you do, what can women do to dig into those parts of the mindset that are at the subconscious level. They don't have access to. They cannot logically log into that place and say, oh, this is a limiting belief, and so on
Yeah.
and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, the book has certain examples. There's also certain questions you can ask yourself because um, if you don't ask the right questions, then the right answers won't appear. So having those questions is important. Working with a mental health professional is important because they can learn to ask those questions for you, right? I think, and no matter what culture we're in, it's been a taboo to ask to seek for help for our mental well-being when it shouldn't be a taboo. It's kind of like going to the gym. If you want to work out and keep fit, we also have to keep our minds mentally fit. So we have to do certain things to help us.
Yeah,
In the book, I've also talked about different movies and TV shows that also um, explain these situations. And so sometimes when you're watching something and you're like, "Oh, that's happened to me," and you're like thinking, "Wait a
yeah,
second, that's considered, a trauma? Like I didn't even know that was a thing," right? So that's why we have like having a second and third pair of eyes is important because we have our own blind spots. So sometimes we might not be able to see it, but when we have books, TV shows, the right mental health professional to help you bring that out of you, then you can start realizing, oh, I didn't realize this was it. And now it's important to start working through it. So, yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Like self-awareness, being aware and digging by yourself is important, but also, as you said, having another set or pair of eyes to show you and help you, make sense of the blind spots that we might have, might really, really be an eye opener. And I'm particularly talking about women who feel stuck for they've been 6 years, 5 years, 4 years, 9 years. The other day I was talking with a lady, 9 years, she said, in the same position, not a single upgrade or same salary, same position. And she said, why is it that they cannot see me in the next level position? The position opens, the VP position opens, but they hire somebody from outside. She says, Nabila, what is the issue in here? I've been the hard worker. I've been the one who stays behind. I've been the one who pulls the entire
Yeah.
team together, who is there over weekend, and if need be, like pick up Slack, messages and stuff in the middle of the night. But why is it that they see me the one, putting it all together, but why not? Is it because of lack of confidence? They don't see me filling that position, or what do you say for this, Sheena?
Um, I think I think it's important to go after those positions, right? And I think sometimes a lot of people think our work will speak for itself, but unfortunately it won't, right? In our culture, we've been taught the same thing. You have to work hard. When you work hard, you'll get the promotion. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. Working hard just means you're a hard worker and it doesn't equate to leadership. And
Or
so,
visibility,
or
or
visibility, right? You're just in
yeah,
the background working hard. So you have to also learn to work smart, right? Whatever working smart looks like. Maybe it's having lunch with your boss to just talk about things and talk about, what are some of the things the company needs and how you can be the solution to that. Learning to go after those positions and ask, "Hey, are you hiring within? I'd love to learn more. I'd love to level up. I'd love to learn how I can be a leader," right? I mean, I think women, we've been programmed to just wait for things to happen, unfortunately,
yeah.
versus going out there and making the first move, going after for those opportunities. And so it does take a shift to realize, okay, if it's up to me, what would I do to get those, right? So at least if you're trying to apply to do the, and I'm not saying you'll always get it, but at least you know that you're doing these things to make it happen. Like, if I didn't go out there and showcase my book, reach out to people in private messages to buy a copy, it wouldn't lead to any of this, right? I mean, I'm not just there showing off my book. I'm there talking with people, talking about them, about the book, reaching out. I do a lot of outreach and it takes a lot, right? It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of
Right,
confidence to do that.
right, right.
So
And yeah, and I think here we are talking about visibility, not just like in the way of coming across or coming out on social media or anything, but this is about positioning. Like if your boss cannot see you as the next VP, maybe it's your role to show him
Yeah,
facets or aspects of what you can do. Maybe you can take a project you've never taken before. Maybe you can volunteer to take a project you've never taken before, just one time. I mean, don't get him
yeah,
used to you doing all of those extra things for nothing. You can just take a project and showcase how you can capably lead a project at VP level. So this is about like really positioning. If they cannot see you in that position, maybe because you haven't shown enough. And I'm not saying there's anybody to blame or anything. It's
yeah,
just about you showing them, like putting in front of them, those things that say, uh-huh, so Sheena is capable of doing this, so let us call her to do this. Meanwhile, we have Lama Hakim. Hello, hello, Lama, long time. And she's saying the thing is, since seeking support for mindset is so unknown, I agree, Lama. For most of the people, and at the end of the day, you don't know if you are getting the right diagnosis or treated right. I totally agree, yeah, Lama. There's a lot going on in there, and but we also have the resources and the tools to really really check if this person really is the one who can help me. I mean, yesterday I wrote my 47th edition of the newsletter, and it was Bob Proctor's birthday 2 days ago, and I said the man is gone, but as my mentor, when I was at that point where I was in a good position, I mean, everybody was saying Nabila is doing great, good position, executive leadership position, good pay, good package, everything seemed. But inside, I was ready for something I didn't know what it was, and I was just asking, and then one day I received an email from Bob Proctor, and it's like, do you want to come for a 15-minute call and we can. And I said, oh my god, who is this
mhm,
Bob Proctor? Never heard about him. And then I go checking who's Bob Proctor and say, oh my god, this man is calling me. I mean, the guy has more than 65 years at that point experience, and he worked with Earl Nightingale. I mean, the guy is legendary. So long story short, I decided to go. And fast forward a few months later, I was in Toronto in front of him. And my life has changed in ways and means I've never, ever thought possible. And my results started showing what was fear. Oh my God, I'm afraid of leaving my job and I will never find something better. La, 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 la. And I ended up handing the resignation, and the resignation being denied. And they say, no, we need you for this bigger project and you are going to lead. And here's a new title and here's an extra, you know, package in the salary. And I said, I mean, how awesome is that? I mean, they were my own fears. And when you meet the right mentor, he will crack something in you you never thought possible. I mean, it's there in you, but he makes you remember who you were in the first place. He makes you remember that you were like confident person. You can do it. It's not just life and the conditions make you forget it. The grind. Would you agree, Sheena?
yeah. I mean, I think it's also important to know as women, we're very intuitive, right? But we're not. We've never been taught to practice our intuition, right? And so sometimes, when we see somebody, we can feel if they're genuine or not. And it does take practice. So maybe the first time you'll get it wrong, that's totally fine because this is something new that you're doing. But the more you keep at it, the more you utilize your intuition, the better you get at it. And so, um, sometimes when you're looking for those things, the right things will appear to you, right? Like maybe watching this live was the thing that you needed, or reading a book, or meeting one of us. When you really want to go out there and seek a solution, it will start appearing. So yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. Who was saying when the student is ready, the teacher appears?
something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So let's get Sheena. We're probably, exceeding the time a little bit, but let's get practical. This is getting really, really interesting. But let's get practical. If like a professional, a career lady, smart, capable, but playing small, is listening to this, what three things should she start this week? This week, like
Yep.
immediate tips that they can take to the workplace, they can work on, and that can definitely set the ball rolling towards developing confidence.
Yeah. So the first one is personal development every single day. So listening to something positive, whether it's reading a book, listening to an interview, like your mindset is so important. So you have to work on that, right? And that's something, even if it's 15 minutes a day, you could do it, right? So that's important. Be
A
okay to ask.
podcast on the way to work. A
There you
podcast on
go.
the way to work. Just that's it.
Be okay to ask questions. Curiosity builds confidence. I don't think there's such a thing as a stupid question. I mean, I'll go out there and ask questions, right? So if you want to get a promotion, start asking, how do I do that? What steps do I need to take? Who's the right person that I need to talk about this? Are there any openings? If not, can I go look for something else? Be okay to ask questions. And then be okay to take action one step at a time, right? No one's telling you to make big leaps. Just take one small action, doing something that you've never done before. It's going to be uncomfortable, it's going to feel weird, but it's also going to help you build your confidence. So maybe talking to your boss is something that you've never done before. Just maybe go up and say, hey, how are you doing? You're not even asking for anything, you're just saying, hey, how you're doing, because at least they know that you are there. And then the more you get to know each other and see what your talents are, see what you're really capable of, it could lead to other things, right?
Right.
So, those are three things I would suggest.
I totally, totally, totally agree, and I'm totally agreement that everything, even though I'm a great, great believer in quantum leaps, but quantum leaps happen in momentum. They always start with the 0.001 step, that small change in the compass that changes the direction of the ship like 100 percent, 180 degrees away. So on my end, those small peaks, even quantum leaps, they always start with a very, very small steps. So if you can, these are my three. Sheena gave her three, and I'm going to tell you about my three. If you can start even journaling one win every day, um, no edits, no downplays, just kind of consciously focus on something, a win, something at the end of the day, something good that happened during your day, and make sure you document it. You do it like just one thing at the end of the day, and then that could take you like in 365 days. You have no idea where this is going to take you, because with 365 wins, it's all in the persistence and in the perseverance of doing it and keeping up the momentum. The second thing would be, and I agree with Sheena, is doing go talk to your boss. I would say, if you are sitting in meetings and you are always the quiet one, just endeavor and venture into speaking up in a meeting, not in a very loud way, probably even with a very quiet comment. With start playing and experimenting with something really, really small, like saying a sentence or a phrase, or a comment or a compliment to somebody, something very short, Like you don't have to do a dissertation or something. And the third thing I would say, and this stands for a lot of women in the GCC, it's claim your visibility. A lot is happening, especially on LinkedIn, which is the professional platform, but a lot of scrolling. I mean, you'd say with 1.2 or 3 billion users at this point in time on LinkedIn, but only around 1% are actively using LinkedIn. That number is, shocking. So when you claim, you say, how do I claim my visibility? I don't have the time for posting. No, it starts with, for example, fixing your bio, the way you represent yourself in your bio on LinkedIn. That's more than enough. It takes 2 minutes. And if you need a tool, you can drop me template, and I have templates to help you. And those are my three. So together between Sheena and myself, now you have six small steps, actionable, bite size, that really can help you get started on the confidence level. That's simple, scalable, but it will, in the long run, build the snowball of confidence. Would you agree, Shina?
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Well, Sheena, I think we need more sessions on confidence. I think we barely touched the surface, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much for showing us. Especially, I think I learned this from your story and your books. You're showing us that confidence, in fact, isn't born. You're not like just born, it's built. It's like taking steps to be intentional, and from silence to self-expression, from hiding behind a job or something to executive presence. But it all goes through action.
Yeah.
I've seen that everything is. So, what would be your final words and your final recommendations, or whatever you want? Where do we find you? Where? I think your books we already mentioned they are
Yeah.
on Wiley. Please tell us a little bit where we can find you and where we.
Yeah, you can connect with me here on LinkedIn. You can check out all my links at shinayapchan.com/links. You can order books there. Both books. You can check out my podcast. I have also you can check out a free self-confidence personality quiz that you can take, and all my other social media. But if you forget anything that I mentioned, you can also Google my name, Sheena Yapchan, because I'm the only Sheena Yapchan on the internet.
You're lucky because when you open our names, you find a list of very similar.
Yeah.
Now to every, thank you so much. We will make a point of putting these links in this chat, so as you find them easily, like Sheena's link, Sheena's books, and Sheena's self-confidence. You said you have an evaluation or an assessment. We'll put them all the resources we mentioned, we'll place them in the chat. And meanwhile, to everyone listening, I think we said it at the beginning, don't wait to feel ready. Decide, decide you are ready right now. Then act. I'm Dr. Nebila Dhieb. This was Quantum Leadership Hacks, episode 147. Share this with a woman who needs to step up from small to seen. And tune in into the Quantum Leadership Hacks every Monday. Exceptionally, today we met at 1 p.m. EST, which is 8 p.m. KSA, but we go back to our regular time at 7 p.m. KSA every Monday, Quantum Leadership Hacks. Thank you so much, Sheena, for your time. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.